Okay, I'm Casper9X, aka Heath. I'm going to go through a quick video into how to set up a DED. Now, it's pretty straightforward. There's a couple things we need to do. And firstly, we're going to start up on here. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Network Settings, Port Forwarding. Now, this is the most important part. If you don't have the correct port forwarding set up, it won't work. Now, in my case, on my network, my machine that actually runs the DEDs is actually on 10.0.0.217. And we can see the two DEDs here. DED 1, 2350 is the port, internal and external. The internal port is the port that the machine is listening on. And the external port is the port that you want the outside world to be visible. Generally, you want them to be the same. There could be reasons why you'd have them different. Like, for example, you could have the external ports different, the same ports, the internal ports the same though, but as long as they're going to different addresses. That way the device would know what one's what. Because you couldn't have two pieces of software running on the same port on a computer. It will generally cry and will cause problems. Okay, so to create one, this is the usual here. We give it a name. We don't worry about that. The external host. So we leave this blank. This is basically everyone can connect to this port. The internal host is the local device that you're going to connect to. The protocol will be TCP, always TCP. You can do TCP, UDP if it has the option, but it's pretty much always TCP. Your external port, as I mentioned, is the port that you want discoverable in the outside world, and your internal port is going to be the port that the dedicated DED is running on. So you will usually want to keep them the same just to prevent confusion. Okay, then you add it and it'll create it. Generally speaking, you don't have to do anything else. The firewall will be automatically set up to cover it. So this is where you also probably need to check. My modem's actually relatively locked down because it's a standard modem. I had to go back to the company provided one because having issues. So, but anyway, it's working. However, though, due to an issue called hairpin NAT, it's not working correctly. Whereas you could previously I was able to run the server and the DEDs on the same machine. I can't run them at the moment because it just doesn't like looping back to itself for both the DEDs and the server. This is why I'm creating this video. Okay, next we are going to go to PuTTY. So this is the server that I'm running at the moment. So we're going to go to city Mekwars, city server dist, city data. Now, generally speaking, most people will be running Windows, so the commands are very much the same. To swap out ls for command, dir. dir gives you a wide view. Basically, what we're looking for here is where is it hiding? Server config.txt. So I'm going to open up text editor. You just open up Notepad and edit it in. I would probably suggest maybe Notepad++, just to make sure that the formatting is correct. So I'm going to go. All right. So you can see here, this is the server. So this is the port that we're running the server on. This is the data port. Tracker is running, so it should be all good. Okay, so just making sure that the actual server is correct. So we go back to here. Um, that's the dead. Yep, that's the dead. Okay, so we go to data and we go to sorry, I had a brain fart before. Here it is. mwconfig.txt. So mwconfig.txt. All right, so we're going to find several fields we're going to modify here. The first one is port. So the server port we leave alone because that's the port we're going to connect to for our server. Search again, data port, again, same thing, we don't touch. The third one is the actual port of the dead, and that's the one we want to change. Generally, this should be sitting at 2347, but we change it to something different. Anything above 2352 is good. It can technically be any number, but I find sometimes you have issues with bigger than 2400. So yeah, just try out what you can and see if it works. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to change the dead name, I think it is. Dedicated, there it is, to true. This will be false. This basically allows it to start silently and in the background. Next, dead name, dead memory. Usually keep this at 256. You can increase it more to 512 if you want, if you've got the memory. It's fine. Doesn't really make much of a difference, to be honest. Not for the games that usually are played. If we start seeing an uptake of like 30k games, then yeah, probably need to update to 512 or even a gig. This box has got 32, so memory is not a problem. Right. Make sure we've got others. Dedicated owner name, we leave it blank. This is so everyone can actually restart the dead as necessary. Dedicate dead update command file, don't need to worry about that. User list dedicateds, no, that's fine. No. Dead auto restart. This is basically the amount of games that the dead will restart. 10 seems to be okay. You can put it down to 5. Either, take your pick. Now, once you change those, we're just going to quit out of that, but you save your file. I would suggest making a copy of the original file first, just in case things screw up. Typos are very easy to do if you're not careful. Now we go back to the main folder. Now I've got a batch file, SDSH. So SDSH, that's all you need to type. And press enter, and Bob is your uncle. Now in Windows, if it's a new process, you will often get an alert asking to see if this is allowed. Where is the... Okay. Okay. Don't seem to have that one. Yes, I want the advanced settings. There it is. So close that one. Let me get a window of it up. Where is it? Window capture. That's the one. Perfect. Okay, so in here, what we want, I'm just going to expand that out a bit so it's a bit easier to see. We want inbound rules. You can see I've got a shit ton here. Most of it's auto-populated. Generally speaking, you'll find it will just do it. So what you want to do is you can go new rule, port, go next, TCP or UDP, the TCP, specific local port. So this is the port that the DED will be running on. So in this case, if we're running on the DED we had listed, which is 2351 in the example, then you put 2351, you click next. So just put that 2, 3, just for lols. We would allow the connection, and you select all the options here, and then you put a name, MW Ded rule, finish. Now, generally speaking, you don't need to worry about outbound rules, as it will basically go through anyway. But generally, if you're running a server, when you actually start the server, the DED, it will come up with a box saying, do you want to allow this to access the network? And then you just click allow. You may need to have permissions, and you just sign in, and away you should be able to go. Yeah, it's as simple as that. If you're finding you are people are unable to connect to your DED, you might still have an issue with your modem or router firewall. So you'd probably want to check that to make sure it's correct. Otherwise, the only real dramas you might see is if you try to connect to your own DED. If your modem / router does not support hairpin NAT, you won't be able to, because it will try to reach it from an external address. Now, in saying that, having your DEDs on a machine that is connected to a dynamic IP address is perfectly fine. That's perfectly okay. Whenever the IP changes, it will automatically just change. But sometimes it's good just to restart it anyway, just to be on the safe side. But yeah, it's as simple as that. As long as you change the port in the mwconfig.txt, you save it, put a name on there as well, dead name or name, and then change if you need to after you've started the DED. Now you can use another command. I'll show you that. So go back out here. So we can see here also there is Mekwars Ded. Now what Mekwars client does is it sees that the config is set up as a dedicated DED. So it's just going to run, it's basically going to alias to the Mekwars Ded jar file. You can run the Mekwars Ded jar file directly using the jar space dash jar mekwars.ded.jar, just fine. That will work, no dramas, either which way. So take your pick. But yeah. The other thing you might come up across is because it's opening a port to external sources, you may need to run the command as administrator, but that's usually highly not really a good idea because it can open up vulnerabilities. So only do that only at your own risk. I wouldn't suggest to do it. I don't run it as a higher privilege or anything. I just run as my standard privilege on the Mac on the Linux box. So yeah. Anyway, that explains it. That's what you need to do. It's very straightforward. So yeah, as I said, if you're going to play on your own dead, make sure you can actually reach your own dead. That's usually your biggest problem. You don't have NAT hairpinning enabled. Some devices you may need to have a look at have a look around and see if you can find if your device supports NAT hairpinning. There may be an option to enable it. Some have it enabled by default, some don't as a security risk. There is some things that can behave like that which are not nice. So as long as you know what you're doing, it's not a problem. And it's a straightforward thing. But yeah, if you notice you start seeing some resource hogs and something obviously weird's going on. But yeah, that's how you do it. If you have any troubles, just post in the general chat and I can discuss with further. But yeah, that's all you need to do. Have a good day.